that to and forth indecisive move, I guess, continues. While for global markets, you would put the construct, which is that, look, I think right now there is a lot of momentum. There is bulls are on the right side of the news flow. Bulls are exactly getting what they wanted, which is that the US interest rate, every time Fed is talking about a US interest rate hike, it is followed up with a weak US GDP data, which means that inflationary concerns will not linger long. So the setup in the global market is something which is strong and supportive for the bulls, and that is surely having a rub-off effect on Indian markets, or it is having a rub-off effect on equities as in general. So if you frankly ask me what is helping the market from a free fall or from some kind of a gut-wrenching decline, I think it is the global setup, and globally, like I mentioned, that bulls are getting exactly what they want. Technically, there is strong momentum. The risk on trade, I think, is on, whether it is US tech stocks or Bitcoin. The US macro data, it is more favorable than less damaging, and that in a sense is helping the equity setup and the mood point, I think, in general.
Yeah, and just to stretch that point further in terms of what we witnessed in yesterday's trading day, it was no sort of a decisive move. Yes, we did come under pressure, yet another flat day of trade, and that was really in the fag end of the trading day, as Aisha flagged off. So 19,300, 19,350, that's where we've been closing for 3 straight days on the trot, and yet again, it's the broader markets that have been taking leadership comparatively. So on a month-to-date basis, we have declined about 2% so far, and if we're just going by the kind of moves that we've seen over the last many months, it has been 3 straight months prior to the month of August that we did manage to end up in the green. So yes, indeed, Nikunj, from a technical standpoint as well, for now we're pretty flat. And what are the trends pointing towards by way of the premium and the fact that it's expiry today also?
So Avan, the market action, I think, is getting very, very somber now. Look at the market setup at the beginning of the August versus end of the August. There is the inertia, I think, in large cap stocks is lacking and it is missing. In terms of commitment levels, the commitment levels, if one looks at the total open interest, compare that with where we were versus where we are likely to roll over or end the expiry, is not that encouraging. So the market, in a sense, is lacking interest, participation, and leadership. If history is anything to go by, this is how the September trend has been. 2020 down, 2021 up, 2022 September has been negative. So September historically has not been a great month, so to speak. So the way I see the setup is that the market is bereft of leadership. It's not getting from Reliance, it is not getting from banks, it is surely not getting from IT. Will this market get a clear leader, or will it get a leadership sector in the month of September? Question number 1. Question number 2, now that benchmark indices are showing signs of fatigue and they've got jammed, will this have a rub-off effect on the mid and the small cap stocks, or like in the month of August, the outperformance in mid and small cap stocks will continue? Point number 2. Point number 3, should you book profits or should you go short? Don't go short. Because while the market is lacking leadership, there is no decisive trend in the Nifty which is telling you that market wants to break down. So the strategy is, for the sake of turning bearish, don't turn bearish. For the sake of just because Nifty is not doing anything does not mean markets will come down. I think the strategy should be very simple. You could ask yourself a very basic question. Please do that today. If you can take a 15-20% downside and volatility, be in the market. If you cannot do that, I think it's time to send chips off the table. It's very simple. It does not need extra analysis. I think now it's about managing risk. Whatever we may talk about Nifty and small and mid cap stocks, I think now it's a function of risk appetite, which will decide how the month of September and what you should do in the near term. There are folks who can take a 30% volatility. So, well, then there's nothing to worry. There are folks who can't take a 5% downside. Then, sorry, sir, right now, then you could take the chip off the table.
Yeah, if you're still staying put,